To those of you who want to build their own submarine, I'm giving some advice on the topic. So today I want to talk about your choice of submarine shape. You can build a submarine in a spherical shape, or you can build a submarine in a cylindrical shape. Personally, I would build a cylindrical submarine. Spheres are very tempting because they're very cheap to build. You just weld two hemispheres together and there's your basic hull. But a cylinder is more practical. You can make it a two-person submarine quite easily if it's a cylinder. The important thing to me though is the size. It needs to be 42 inches in diameter, I mean. If you go smaller than 42 inches, it's quite uncomfortable and you're limited to how you can operate it. You want to be able to have a pilot sitting in the pilot seat with his upper body in the conning tower looking out the windows, and you want your passenger sitting up front looking out the front dome or the front flat windows. But also, if you're diving alone, the pilot in a 42-inch diameter hull can just crouch down like this and he can look out the front windows. So it's a very versatile size. You can put your batteries, if you use lithium phosphate batteries, you can put them under the pilot's seat and back a bit, and then behind you can put all your mechanical stuff, your air tanks and whatnot. So my recommendation is 42 inches. Don't be tempted to go down to 36 inches. You'll hate it. It's hard to work on and you'll have to lay down. So when you lay down in a submarine, it's very uncomfortable. So my recommendation is to be able to sit upright in the submarine. Makes it comfortable and much more enjoyable. The other thing is what to use for your submarine hull. You can use a propane tank. A lot of people are going to poo-poo on me for that, but you can. I've done it. You have to be very careful with the welding process because of entrapped hydrogen, but it is very doable. The one thing to watch though, if you're going to use a propane tank, well, if you're going to use any pressure tank, internal pressure tanks are much different than external pressure tanks in that they don't have to be as round. So a submarine hull has to be round within 1% of the diameter. So before you buy any tank, cut a template to fit the diameter of the tank and put the template on the tank. Just do a 120-degree template and make sure it's within roundness. It's the same if you're building a spherical submarine. The sphericity has to be there. It's very important. Next thing is, if you use a propane tank, the nice thing about those is they have a 3/8 wall, and that's pretty hefty. That's really nice. I prefer to build a hull with a heavier wall and less ribs. It's just faster and easier. If you're going to build a cylindrical submarine and you're going to roll a barrel and weld end caps on, then leave the one end cap off till the bitter end because it's a lot of work climbing in and out of the submarine all the time. So that's my 2 cents. Go 42-inch. Elliptical head on the end is fine. And a spherical head is fine also. The nice thing about an elliptical head is you can sit really close to it. So when you sit inside the submarine, you want your windows as close to your face as possible because you're going to be working with a window like this size, 6-8 inches. So the closer you can get to that window, the better you can see. Now, if you have a spherical end cap, which is quite far from you, you can't really crawl into that spherical end cap. It makes it harder to see. So an elliptical head is actually better than a spherical head, but it's not as strong. And if you go the propane tank route, typically they have a spherical head. If you go to a tank like an air receiver tank, those have elliptical heads usually, and that works out perfectly. I'm not sure on the wall thickness. They're probably lighter, probably 1/4-inch wall, which is fine. It all depends on how deep you want to dive. The deeper you dive, obviously, the heavier your hull has to be. So a lot of choices to make there, a lot of things to consider. One thing that I consider a lot is time to build and cost to build. So if you go with a 42-inch hull with elliptical heads, a simple conning tower, you can build it really fast. Like I would build that in 8 months. So that's the basics that I would start with looking